In 2025, the global energy map was redrawn and fast. Canada and Qatar just rerouted massive gas exports away from the US toward Europe, setting off an economic chain reaction. With tariffs rising and alliances shifting, America's grip on energy influence is slipping. Meanwhile, Europe races to replace Russian supply, and two new players are taking the lead. This detour began when President Trump's 2025 tariff package dropped a 10% levy on Canadian natural gas. His goal was to force favorable trade terms and reassert US control. The result? A full-blown U-turn from America's northern neighbor, Canada. Long the US's reliable co-driver in energy trade, Canada didn't just pump the brakes, it changed lanes entirely. Prime Minister Mark Carney responded with clarity and confidence, declaring the post-World War II economic harmony with the US officially over. In its place came a bold pivot toward Europe and Asia, where demand is strong and the politics are less combustible. Enter LNG Canada, the massive terminal in British Columbia, quietly in the works for years, now the crown jewel of Canada's new export strategy. With operations kicking off mid-2025, it's set to deliver millions of tons of LNG across the Atlantic and Pacific. What makes this shift especially pivotal is the infrastructure, from pipelines to ports, being re-engineered away from the US. What once symbolized cross-border integration now signals independence. Trump's tariff, meant to safeguard American energy dominance, inadvertently shattered the alliance that underpinned it. But Canada's move isn't the only play redefining the global gas game. Qatar's power surge is just as critical. While Canada was realigning, Qatar was recalibrating and accelerating. This Gulf state, already a giant in the LNG world, is now sprinting toward a near doubling of its production capacity from 77 million metric tons in 2024 to a projected 142 million by 2030. That's not just an upgrade, it's a takeover. Europe, scrambling to reduce its dependence on Russian gas, found in Qatar your reliable and competitive partner. Countries like Germany inked long-term supply deals, betting on Qatar's consistency and favorable pricing to stabilize their domestic markets and industries. Still, the road isn't without speed bumps. European lawmakers are pressing forward with tough sustainability standards under the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive. Qatar's officials haven't been shy about their concerns, warning that overregulation could complicate future deals. But for now, the tanks are full, the ships are sailing, and Qatar is firmly in the driver's seat of Europe's energy future. The bigger picture: Qatar's dominance in European LNG isn't just a business win. It's a geopolitical power play. By becoming an indispensable fuel stop for the continent, Qatar is rewriting its role in global diplomacy, one tanker at a time. Before we delve deeper, do us a favor and smash that like and subscribe button. This helps us reach more auto and energy enthusiasts just like you. With Qatar filling Europe's tanks, let's now turn to the US, where the engine's sputtering and the check engine light just came on. While Canada and Qatar hit the gas, the United States finds itself stuck in the slow lane. The loss of Canadian imports, once a cornerstone of US natural gas supply, has tightened domestic availability just as demand spikes. That strain shows up at the pump and in the pocketbook. Gas prices have crept up near $5 per gallon, reigniting inflationary fears and stretching household budgets. Energy sector job losses are mounting, particularly in processing hubs and port cities tied to the former US-Canada energy flow. Washington's counter-strike was to boost LNG exports to Europe. But it's easier said than done. Shipping lanes are congested. Export terminals are operating near capacity. And Europe already has suitors, namely Qatar, with cheaper and more reliable supply chains. The kicker: This energy bottleneck is a direct result of short-sighted trade tactics. What was intended as a show of strength became a showcase of vulnerability. And while the US scrambles to reconfigure its position in the global energy order, the rest of the world is already miles down the road. Meanwhile, Europe is shifting gears entirely, focused on long-term resilience, even if that means navigating some sharp curves. Europe's energy equation has shifted gears dramatically. In 2025, when Russian gas supplies came to a screeching halt through Ukraine at the start of the year, it left the continent racing for reliable alternatives. Enter Canada and Qatar, two nations now fueling Europe's pursuit of long-term stability. Multi-decade LNG agreements with both countries have become the new engine behind Europe's energy security. But this isn't a simple switch. Environmental regulations, internal EU disagreements, and price volatility are adding layers of complexity to the ride. Some EU nations want to keep the Russian tap open just a little longer to keep prices from overheating. Others are insisting on cutting it off entirely by 2027. The friction highlights a challenge every gearhead knows too well: you can't tune performance without agreeing on the paths. In the end, Europe's success will hinge on its ability to synchronize its strategy and maintain partnerships that are both profitable and planet-friendly. And while Europe fine-tunes its engine, Canada and Qatar are already building the highway. This isn't just a supply chain story. It's the blueprint for a new world energy order. Canada and Qatar are no longer playing the sidecar role to US energy dominance. They're riding up front now, using LNG deals as leverage to reshape the rules. Both are locking in international contracts that span decades, positioning themselves as central hubs in the future of global fuel. In Canada, regions like British Columbia and Newfoundland are shifting into high gear. LNG terminals, shipping ports, and new energy corridors are driving job creation, pulling in billions in investment, and turbocharging Canada's image as a global powerhouse. And Ottawa isn't just exporting fuel, it's exporting diplomacy, tightening bonds with France and the UK through shared energy goals. Qatar, meanwhile, is crafting something even more ambitious. Its LNG isn't just powering homes, it's powering influence from Italy to Germany to Japan. Qatar is packaging energy with ports, logistics, infrastructure, and global trade routes. Its energy policy meets grand strategy. Together, these two nations are constructing a new lane in the global marketplace, one that avoids US toll booths altogether. And as they build this transatlantic and trans-Pacific energy expressway, America risks being parked on the shoulder. The decisions by Canada and Qatar to reroute their energy exports have done more than shake up the fuel market. They've redrawn the map of global influence. For Europe, the partnerships offer a buffer against geopolitical turbulence. For Canada and Qatar, they mark a strategic leap forward, with energy becoming not just a commodity but a diplomatic asset. And for the United States, it's a sobering reminder that global dominance requires more than just muscle. It requires flexibility, foresight, and cooperation. The tariff-first approach backfired, leaving Washington reacting to moves it used to dictate. Now, the US must decide whether to double down on isolationist tactics or recalibrate for a new era of shared strategy and global agility. So let's bring it to the comment pit. Do you think Canada and Qatar made the right move by bypassing the US? Will Europe's reliance on external gas partners make it more secure or more vulnerable? And can the US still claw back its influence in the energy arena, or has that ship already sailed? Drop your answers in the comments below. We'd love to hear your take. Don't forget to subscribe to Piston Pundit to get notified for the next round of vehicle updates, global trade breakdowns, and powertrain politics that are reshaping the automotive world and beyond. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next pit stop. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's plenty more to explore. As Canada and Qatar solidify their roles as energy superpowers, the broader global market is adapting at high speed. Emerging economies in Southeast Asia, Latin America, and parts of Africa are also turning their attention toward securing long-term LNG deals. For years, U.S. energy exports were seen as the future for these regions, offering cleaner burning gas compared to coal. But the new shift means that Canadian and Qatari exporters are outpacing American firms not only in Europe but across multiple continents. Countries like Vietnam, India, and Brazil are entering negotiations with Canadian firms, lured by stable prices and Canada's growing reputation for regulatory reliability. In Africa, nations such as South Africa and Kenya are exploring direct partnerships with Qatar's energy ministry, bypassing Western intermediaries entirely. This creates a domino effect that weakens U.S. influence over global energy policy decisions, from emissions targets to sanctions enforcement. Meanwhile, China, the world's largest energy importer, is hedging its bets. Although it maintains long-term contracts with U.S. LNG companies, it's quietly increasing its imports from Qatar and Canada to diversify supply lines. In essence, China is exploiting America's weakened position to secure better terms elsewhere, ensuring energy security without becoming too dependent on a single source. Back in the US, energy companies are sounding the alarm. Executives at Chevron, Cheniere Energy, and ExxonMobil have warned Congress that America's shrinking influence in global LNG markets could have devastating consequences for both economic growth and national security. They argue that without expanded export infrastructure, tax incentives, and diplomatic efforts to rebuild energy partnerships, the US risks losing not just market share but also critical strategic leverage. At the same time, green energy advocates see opportunity in the chaos. Groups pushing for faster renewable energy adoption argue that the US should pivot aggressively toward wind, solar, and battery storage technologies rather than trying to chase a losing LNG race. Several states, California, New York, and Texas among them, are proposing ambitious energy independence 2.0 bills aimed at reducing natural gas reliance within a decade. If successful, this could permanently change the composition of the American energy portfolio and hasten the broader transition to clean tech. And it's not just about energy. The cascading effects are hitting sectors like shipping, heavy industry, and even agriculture. Increased LNG demand for Europe means tighter shipping availability worldwide, raising freight costs across industries. Some analysts predict this could slow global economic growth by as much as 0.2% annually over the next 5 years. Another underreported but critical angle is energy security alliances. Quiet talks are underway between Europe, Canada, and Japan to form an energy stability pact, an agreement that would coordinate LNG supply chains, storage reserves, and pricing mechanisms across continents. If finalized, it would further marginalize the United States from major decision-making bodies that dictate the future of energy flows, prices, and investments. Finally, there's the military angle. Control over energy routes, especially LNG shipping lanes through the Atlantic and Pacific, is becoming a hotter topic in defense circles. NATO naval patrols are already increasing around key choke points like the English Channel and Strait of Gibraltar to protect LNG tankers from piracy or sabotage. Some US military strategists warn that diminished American leadership in energy markets could erode its influence over key maritime trade routes, further weakening the US's global posture. In short, this isn't just about gas anymore. It's about power, prosperity, and the balance of global influence for decades to come.